then the other side could be like, no, maybe they were not being fair players and they're BSing and they're playing propaganda. Who do you believe is the question, Vinny?
I don't know, Pat, because and Rob, I sent you this clip of him. I don't believe him, but that's his job. And my question is he on a hit list? If he's the foreign minister, are we actively trying to go after this guy? Out of curiosity, Pat, because he's alive and he's doing well. He's a liar, because this is actually great. Margaret Brennan from Face the Nation. She actually asked a good question. I thought I had to run it through AI because I honestly thought
I love that you said that. Margaret Brennan actually asked a good question.
I thought it was AI, Pat. So Abbas is over Zoom, and she's asking him about, like, the internet's down. They shut off all the internet for everybody. Abbas. He's Abbas. And then this answer, it tells you everything you need to know about this guy and his character and how honest he is. Go ahead, Rob.
I just do want to point out, you're speaking to us via Zoom. The Iranian people don't have open internet access, but you do. Why?
Well, because I'm the voice of Iranians, and I have to defend their right. So this is why I
what
have
a noble thing.
access to internet.
Vinny, keep your mouth shut. I'll speak on your behalf.
Have our voice being heard by the international community. But internet is closed because of the security reasons, because we are under attack, we are under aggression, and we have to do everything to protect our people. In any country, there are, urgent measures taken for the sake of war.
I just do want to point out.
You want to talk about control?
Although the gold frame and the black ribbon is a step up from the cardboard cutout.
Yeah, of course. Like, think about that. He's on Zoom, but the people can't. And that's why, guys, if you think about it, you haven't been really seeing anything from the people in the streets. What's happening? I did see a video where people were in their apartments, Tom, like I won't say high rise, maybe 20, 10 to 15 stories up, looking just down. IRGC is walking in the street. They're looking down, and they just open fire at people in their apartments. So you're not seeing.
They would never do that.
No, I mean.
They would never do such a thing, Vinny. That's just propaganda. Why are you saying, you would say that Iranian government would kill their own people?
I saw it with
Why are you making up stories,
I saw it with my own eyes, Patrick.
They would never do that. These are noble people. That Islamic Revolutionary Guard. You realize how sarcastic I'm being right now.
I know that you're being sarcastic. But think about it. And this actually answered my question. I haven't seen anything from the people of the streets of Iran, what the people are going through. This proves it right. They shut off all the internet. I'm curious to when they did that, Rob, if we could find out.
Adam.
Who's this guy? The foreign
minister.
Foreign minister.
Iran.
Okay. You know how I know he's lying?
Boss.
This is how I know this guy's lying, because his lips are moving. Bill O'Reilly used to have a show, and he used to call it the no spin zone. There's no spin here. We're telling the truth here. This guy is incapable of telling the truth. It's all spin. So, they say you got to trust but verify. You trust but verify. Dude, we don't trust this guy at all. And because we don't trust him, we need to verify everything. So this regime is fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their ideology. They're fighting for everything they've ever built since 1979. And they're not going to go down quietly. So if you speak up, they'll kill you internally. If you're a neighbor and you even give the impression that you're not on their side, they'll shoot at you. So this is all about to get very ugly. And then the left media, shout out to this lady for actually pressing this guy. Good for you.
Finally.
Because the left media just believes the Iranian state media. They believe the Hamas media as if they're credible whatsoever. So I love the fact that, there's been this whole ongoing discussion of what happened to this girls' school, 100 or so girls.
168, 14
Horrible,
teachers.
Disgusting. Who knows what happened there? Let's get to the bottom of that. This is war.
Yes, and I'll leave the rest of the video for you guys to watch the rest of it. But I wanted to get to that point because it was like, okay, the Iranian people do not have internet, but you got internet, and you're speaking for everybody. So nobody can get any information out, but you're speaking for everybody. See, that's why y'all need Starlink. Get around that. I'm just saying, it's satellite-based. Satellite-based. Starlink. I'm not being paid by Starlink. I'm not being sponsored, but I'm so excited, and I'm really looking forward to trying the product. Now, I want to check out this video from Promethean. Now, it is talking about the Iranian conflict from the United States perspective.
You've been told about forever wars and liberal intervention. The worldview driving President Trump's agenda in Iran isn't neocon, and it isn't imperialist. It is a radical, calculated strike against the very system that has hollowed out the American middle class for 4 decades. What we are witnessing is a major flanking operation to end the era of globalization. This is a radical break from 40 years of managed decline. I'm Mike Steger. I've been in this fight since 2001. Today, I'm going to show you the world map, 5 regions, 1 global strategy, and the end of the great game. The globalist era rested on a basic lie, that liberal democracy and international rules would solve the world's problems. It was actually a cover for permanent war and corporate control. Self-government was hollowed out. Power was handed to multinational corporations. Tony Blair said it out loud in 1999. Any government that thinks it can go it alone is wrong. If the markets don't like your policies, they will punish you. That means accepting the judgments of international organizations, even when you do not like them. This is what Trump is overthrowing. This is why he moved on Iran now. Never before has a system of sovereign nation states dominated the world's economy. But today, that threat is real, and the globalists are panicked. Leaders on every continent know that the status quo is untenable. There is no nation and no people who want the globalists in power. There are only a few regimes still clinging to this old way, because most know it's a Hobbesian survival of the fittest system, where conflict and total war become inevitable. This is why Russia and China are talking to Trump. They know the stakes are astronomical, and they know that no other nation except the United States can take the lead on such great change. This is the great change versus the great game. And you play a key role. If you want to better understand that role, you should sign up for our weekly Promethean newsletter. It's free, and the link is in the description. It's time for real global strategy. The Persian Gulf powers 1/3 of the global economy. Japan relies on it for 95% of its oil. China and India for 50%. Vietnam, 85%, etc. Control this region, and you control the world's economic choke point. 100 years ago, the British Empire set up a terrorist group called the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt around the Suez Canal, a shipping choke point. To this day, the Muslim Brotherhood wants a barbaric caliphate, not thriving Arab nations. Then, after World War II, the British began using Israel for permanent religious war against this radical Islam. Divide and conquer. More chaos, easier to control. As focus turned to the Gulf and the global oil supply in the 1970s, they turned to a new agenda, what Brzezinski called the crescent of crisis, a belt of permanent conflict from India to the Mediterranean. The cultivated warlords like Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan and the mullahs in Iran. They said it was just the Cold War, but really the globalists were creating a permanent enemy to drag the United States into another forever war, just like they had done with communism and Vietnam. All of it to destroy the United States. So once the Bush crowd let 9/11 happen, the neocons went for total war, and the rest is history. Destruction on all ends. That monster reared its head again on October 7th when Hamas attacked Israel. Hamas is the Muslim Brotherhood. It is backed by Iran, and it was even funded by Netanyahu. October 7th was a globalist gambit 1,000%. Why in 2023? Because of the Abraham Accords, a threat of real peace. Trump had launched a new policy based on nations, development, and trade. Israel and Saudi Arabia were in real negotiations to establish full relations. This was going to be a major tipping point, a massive power play by the United States and President Trump to define the crossroads of Asia, Africa, and Europe. After just 1 year back in office, there is already a new Gaza peace deal signed by 30 nations and supported by over 50. The potential for peace is real if the region is stable and real investments can be made. And that's why Iran remained a threat. But what about China? Are China and Russia a new Cold War bloc? That's not what the Great Change intends. This is about a new global system. But China is a big factor. In 1971, Richard Nixon took the dollar off gold. This ended the Bretton Woods system, and nothing replaced it. The World Bank and the IMF became tools to enforce a new kind of Wild West of corporate supremacy. The era of globalization and free trade took over. By 2002, China had built an empire based on cheap labor and government subsidies. Then they joined the World Trade Organization, and the great sucking sound of NAFTA turned into a hurricane. No one could compete with China's cheap labor and government power. Over the last 25 years, China has built up a wealthy nation, massive infrastructure, science and technology, and a lot of communist billionaires. Yet even their former prime minister said they still have 600 million living on less than $5 a day. China, like the corporations, is addicted to globalization. Massive profits for the communist state, but the people suffer. We need a new global system. And that's what Trump has initiated. Over the last year, he has reorganized the entire system of global trade, except for China. He will visit Xi in April. The question will be simple. Will China join a new fair trade system or choose a new Cold War? By squeezing China on energy and trade, we force them to the table. We intend to secure a 21st century based on the rights of nations and a defense of working people, not corporations or state control. As Scott Bessent said, could we do something where they consume more, manufacture less? We consume less, manufacture more. That would be a home run for the global economy. As the Chinese would say, that's a win-win. The Chinese people get higher wages, and we reindustrialize. The American system would go global. And that's why the globalists see Iran and China as big pieces of this puzzle. We're covering these shifts in real time as they happen. If this perspective, mixing history, science, and strategy, is something you've been looking for, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's the only way to make sure you don't miss our deep dive next week on the war with the cartels. For those who want to support this work directly, consider becoming a paying subscriber at the link below. It's how we stay independent. China depends on cheap fuel from Russia. If the US and Russia establish relations on shared goals, the whole global system changes. This is the pivot for great change. That's why the war with Russia is the ultimate great game. In 2010, Lyndon LaRouche gave a warning after they killed Gaddafi. Paraphrasing, he said, the globalists are in a rush. They need to escalate the war in Syria and create a war with Russia. The intent is war with Russia. By 2014, there was a coup in Ukraine, and then there was a civil war. By 2022, a proxy war between the US and Russia had been launched. In the 1990s, the globalists dreamed of breaking Russia up to rule the world, the so-called unipolar moment, the globalists' wet dream. A war between the United States and Russia ultimately weakens both nations and makes us both easier to control. And the inverse is also true. If the two nations decide to work together, then the globalists are damned. This is why President Trump focuses on peace. It's why they ran the Russia hoax to stop him. Trump said it at Mar-a-Lago in 2025. A lot of success could have been had by trading with Russia. They have great land, great minerals, and other things, and we have things that they want very badly. I think we're going to get there. I know him very well. If the US and Russia make a deal on resources, trade, and development, the threat of world war ends. The globalists know it. They lose their strategic control. Russian life expectancy in the 1990s for men dropped from 65 years, just 65 years, to 57 years. In the 1990s, it was death from despair. Thank Jeffrey Sachs and the Harvard boys for that one. Radical globalization in Russia was worse than communism. They were wrecked by it, and they see the destruction of Europe today from that same disease. If Russia and the US pivot, then China faces a real choice: Russian cheap energy or isolation. Same for Europe. All of Europe and China are squeezed. Globalization burns on the pyre of the great change. This is grand strategy at its finest. But let's bring it home. The best for last. Our so-called elites have handed the Americas over to drug cartels, gangs, and poverty. This is the cause of the immigration crisis. Trump is changing all of that. He is reviving the original Monroe Doctrine. This isn't gunboat diplomacy. The goal today is to turn the Western Hemisphere into the strongest economic region on Earth. That's the Monroe Doctrine. His national security strategy says this: the United States will prioritize commercial diplomacy, while an economically stronger and more sophisticated Western Hemisphere becomes an increasingly attractive market for American commerce and investment. His defense strategy says this: as the department works to secure America's borders, threats to those borders must be addressed deeper in the hemisphere. We will develop partners' ability to degrade narco-terrorist organizations across the Americas and support them as they do. The results are already coming in. We've declared the cartels foreign terrorist organizations, targeted their financial networks, initiated U.S.-Mexico military collaboration, extradited 55 cartel leaders from Mexico, eliminated a top cartel leader, El Mencho, removed Maduro, and we established the Shield of the Americas, a military counter-cartel operation throughout the entire hemisphere. We are quickly building a new civilization in the Americas, and there is much more to come. Stay tuned for next week's show if you're interested. But none of this works without the miracle here at home. Alexander Hamilton established the American system of economics as our constitutional system. This is the American system of political economy. In 1790, to avoid defaulting on the Revolutionary War debt, he used the debt to borrow even more, and then used the new investments to rebuild our new nation. Trump is doing the same thing. He took our weakness, our massive debt, the so-called consumer of last resort, and leveraged that to generate $18 trillion in investments into American industry. Semiconductors, shipbuilding, steel, aerospace, furniture. We have factories being built all over the country, and we are just getting started. This is breaking the grip of globalization and replacing it with strong and prosperous nations. And this great change, it has to come from the United States. We are the leading nation, the primus inter pares, the first among equals, because we launched the era of nation states. And now, today, we, the American people, are breathing new life into a system of nations. The mullahs regime was created to oppose this very revival of the United States. It was meant to be our permanent enemy. But we don't have permanent enemies. No one.